Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today is Friday, August 10th, 2018. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's baseball games, look ahead to today's slate of games, go over a big, not injury, but issue in baseball with one of the game's premier closers, talk about the NBA schedule, which is going to be released today at 4 o'clock Eastern, go over a big NFL injury, and I'm going to do my NFL defensive lineman rankings. Here we go. Baseball yesterday. The Nationals defeated the Braves 6-3 to salvage a split in their 4-game set. They improved to 59-56. Atlanta dropped to 62-50. Gio Gonzalez improves to 7-8. Wes Parsons drops to 0-1. The Indians defeated the Twins 5-4 on a walk-off single by Michael Brantley in the bottom of the ninth. Cleveland improves to 64-50. Minnesota drops to 53-61. Andrew Miller improves to 2-3. Addison Reed drops to 1-6. The Padres defeated the Brewers 8-4. This was a crazy game. San Diego came from behind. Hunter Renfroe had the go-ahead grand slam in the top of the ninth inning. They improved to 46-71. Milwaukee drops to 66-52. Kirby Yates improves to 4-0. Corey Knebel drops to 2-3. The Blue Jays defeated the Red Sox 8-5 as they improved to 52-62. Boston drops to 81-35. Their win streak is over. Ryan Baroque improves to 2-2. Rick Porcello drops to 14-5. Mookie Betts hit for the cycle in this game. He had a homer in the top of the ninth inning to complete the cycle in defeat. The Yankees defeated the Rangers 7-3 as they improved to 72-42. Texas drops to 51-66. Jay Happ improves to 12-6. 2-0 as a Yankee. And Ariel Gerardo drops to 2-2. The Rays defeated the Orioles 5-4 as they improved to 58-57. Baltimore drops to 35-80. Yanni Chirinos improves to 1-4. Cody Carroll drops to 0-1. Sergio Romo gets his 14th save of the season. The Mariners defeated the Astros 8-6. Impressive win for Seattle, shelling Verlander early. Seattle improves to 66-50. Houston drops to 73-43. James Paxton improves to 10-5. Justin Verlander drops to 11-7. Edwin Diaz gets his 43rd save of the season. The Dodgers defeated the Rockies 8-5. Impressive win for them. Rockies were up 5-3. Dodgers came back to win it. LA improves to 64-52. Colorado drops to 60-55. Caleb Ferguson improves to 3-1. Wade Davis drops to 1-6. Scott Alexander gets his second save of the season. The Pirates defeated the Giants 10-5 as they improved to 16-56. San Francisco drops to 57-59. Ivan Nova improves to 7-6. Andrew Suarez drops to 4-8. Today's games at 2:20, so about an hour from now, Nationals Cubs, Jeremy Hellickson, Kyle Hendricks. 7 o'clock, Rangers Yankees. Mike Minor and Masahiro Tanaka. Tanaka's been on a roll of late. Red Sox Orioles. Speaking of on a roll, Nathan Eovaldi has a Red Sox 2-0 and have not given up a run. I believe Eovaldi hasn't given up a run. Or else he did against the Yankees, I don't remember. Dylan Bundy is pitching for Baltimore. Rays Blue Jays. Blake Snell and Marco Estrada. Twins Tigers. Irvin Santana and Jordan Zimmerman. Diamondbacks Reds, Clay Buchholz and Anthony DeSclafani. Mets Marlins. Zach Wheeler and Jose Urena. Brewers Braves at 7:30. Freddie Peralta and Kevin Gossman. Indians White Sox at 8 o'clock. Shane Bieber and Carlos Rodon. Rodon's pitched very well of late. Mariners Astros. Mike Leake and Garrett Cole. 8:15 Cardinals Royals. Austin Gomber and Birch Smith. 8:30 Dodgers Rockies. Kenta Maeda and John Gray. 10 o'clock Athletics Angels. Brett Anderson and Felix Pena. Phillies Padres. Zach Eflin and Jacob Mix. And Pirates Giants, Clay Holmes and Derek Holland. That's it for the baseball today. Kenley Jansen, this is unfortunate news for the Dodgers, was diagnosed with an irregular heartbeat. So he'll miss a month. He's in the hospital getting treatment for it. And best of wishes go out to Kenley Jansen as he tries to recover from this. This is a big loss for the Dodgers. Kenley Jansen got off to a slow start the season and turned it around, and is a big reason for the Dodgers' turnaround this season. Scott Alexander got the save yesterday, so I guess he's going to be their closer moving forward before Jansen comes back. And I'm curious to see if the Diamondbacks take any advantage of this in case Alexander, whoever steps in for the recovering Kenley Jansen, does not get the job done. And see if the Diamondbacks can take advantage of that and steal the division from the Dodgers. But I just still think, even without Jansen, that the Dodgers are the more talented team, although Jansen is a big part of what the Dodgers do as a ball club. At 4 o'clock this afternoon, the NBA will release its full schedule. There are a couple of matchups that I'm interested in seeing when they are. We discussed the opening week, Christmas, and Martin Luther King Day on the podcast yesterday. Games I'm interested to see when they happen: Toronto at San Antonio, because that's Kawhi Leonard's return to San Antonio. And speaking of returns, it was already leaked that the Lakers at the Cavaliers is November 21st. I guarantee you that game is going to be on ESPN, and Mike Breen, Jeff Van Gundy, and Mark Jackson will be on the call for that game. And that is the day before Thanksgiving, I believe. And speaking of returns, a return that should have been the case last year, it didn't happen because this player was out for the season when he tore up his ACL. And that's Gordon Hayward, now of the Boston Celtics. I'm interested to see when the Celtics play at Utah because Gordon Hayward never had his return game last year. The Rockets at the Knicks to me is interesting because Carmelo Anthony back at the Garden, except in a different uniform. Obviously, Rockets at Oklahoma City because of Carmelo Anthony and because of James Harden. Oklahoma City hosting Houston's always interesting because Harden, don't forget, was a member of the Thunder and then he was traded to the Rockets, and that's probably one of the biggest mistakes the Thunder have made this decade in trading James Harden. Although they got their starting center, Steven Adams, out of that trade, and he's a player that's been getting better and better every season. Another game I'm interested in is San Antonio at Toronto. We already talked about Toronto at San Antonio, but San Antonio at Toronto is interesting because that would be DeMar DeRozan's return to Toronto. That can't be overlooked at all. Lakers at the Knicks is interesting because LeBron James loves playing at Madison Square Garden, and those are the two biggest franchises in the NBA in terms of fan base and markets, although the Celtics have an argument, even the Sixers now being relevant. But Lakers-Knicks are always going to be the two teams everybody points at and say are the two most popular teams from a fan base standpoint in the NBA. Both teams have passionate fans, and the Knicks fans tend to boo LeBron James whenever he's visiting the building, especially now that he's a member of the Lakers. So that's going to be an interesting game. Speaking of interesting games, the Lakers hosting New Orleans is interesting because Julius Randle left the Lakers for New Orleans. And on the flip side, Lakers at New Orleans is interesting because of Rajon Rondo, as well as Lakers at the Celtics. I'm sure the Celtic fans won't be happy about their former point guard playing with their across-the-country rivals in Los Angeles. So, should be an interesting 4 o'clock. I'm going to analyze the schedule on Sunday's podcast because tomorrow I want to be quick because I have a lot to do tomorrow. So I'm going to save the NBA schedule analysis for Sunday's podcast instead. Now I'm going to do my NFL defensive lineman rankings. There are a grand total of 121 on this list. There's a couple players that are depth players due to the fact that their depth is so loaded. For example, the Eagles have a couple players that could be starting on other teams that are on their second string. And then the numbers are a little bit uneven because some teams have 4-3 defenses and others have 3-4s. So that's why some teams have more than others. All right, 121, Trevon Coley, the defensive tackle of the Cleveland Browns. 120, Al Woods, defensive tackle, Indianapolis Colts. 119, Detone Jones, the defensive tackle of the Dallas Cowboys. 118, Kyle Pico, the defensive tackle of the Denver Broncos. 117, Rashad Green, the defensive end of the Seattle Seahawks. 116, Jimmy Mater, the defensive tackle of the Cleveland Browns. 115, Nazir Jones, the defensive tackle of the Seattle Seahawks. 114, Jonathan Bullard, the defensive end of the Chicago Bears. 113, Tank Carradine, the defensive end of the Oakland Raiders. 112, Xavier Williams, the defensive tackle of the Arizona Cardinals. 111, Michael Pierce, defensive tackle, Baltimore Ravens. 110, DJ Reader, defensive tackle, Houston Texans. 109, Matt Longcare, the defensive end, and he's a linebacker as well, of the Los Angeles Rams, but the Rams have him listed as a defensive end. 108, Matt Iodinis, the defensive end from the Washington Redskins. 107, Brent Urban, defensive end, Baltimore Ravens. 106, Terrell McClain, defensive tackle, Atlanta Falcons. 105, Kareem Martin, defensive end, New York Giants. He's also a linebacker, but the Giants have him listed as a defensive end. 104, Benson Mayoya, defensive end, Arizona Cardinals. 103, Nathan Shepard, defensive end, New York Jets. He's a rookie. 102, Devon Godouch, the defensive tackle from the Dolphins. 101, Tyler Davison, the defensive tackle from the New Orleans Saints. 100, Anthony Zettel, the defensive end from the Detroit Lions. 99, Benny Logan, defensive tackle, Tennessee Titans. 98, Sylvester Williams, defensive tackle, Detroit Lions. 97, Jihad Ward, defensive tackle, Dallas Cowboys. He was acquired in the trade in the offseason. 96, B.J. Hill, defensive end, New York Giants. 95, Adam Gostis, defensive end, Denver Broncos. 94, Daquan Jones, defensive end, Tennessee Titans. 93, Christian Covington, defensive end, Texans. 92, Denico Autry, defensive tackle, Indianapolis Colts. 91, Steve McClendon, defensive tackle, New York Jets. 90, Akeem Spence, defensive tackle, Miami Dolphins. 89, Jabal Sheard, defensive end, Indianapolis Colts. 88, Andrew Billings, defensive tackle, Cincinnati Bengals. 87, Lawrence Guy, defensive tackle, New England Patriots. 86, Sean Robinson, defensive tackle, Detroit Lions. 85, Tyrone Crawford, defensive end, Dallas Cowboys. 84, Stephon Tuitt, defensive end, Pittsburgh Steelers. 83, Eric Armstead, defensive end, San Francisco 49ers. 82, Trey Flowers, defensive end, New England Patriots. 81, Corey Peters, defensive tackle, Arizona Cardinals. 80, Frank Clark, defensive end, Seattle Seahawks. 79, Alex Okafor, defensive end, New Orleans Saints. 78, Michael Brockers, defensive end, Los Angeles Rams. 77, Jerron Reed, defensive tackle, Seattle Seahawks. 76, Grady Jarrett, defensive tackle, Atlanta Falcons. 75, Akeem Hicks, defensive end, Chicago Bears. 74, Trent Murphy, defensive end, Buffalo Bills. 73, Kamoko Toure, defensive end, Indianapolis Colts. 72, Bruce Irvin, defensive end, linebacker, Oakland Raiders. The Raiders have him listed as a defensive end. 71, Dalvin Thompson, defensive tackle, New York Giants. 70, Justin Ellis, defensive tackle, Oakland Raiders. 69, Haloti Ngata, defensive tackle, Philadelphia Eagles. 68, Kenny Clark, defensive tackle, Green Bay Packers. 67, Bu Allen, defensive tackle, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 66, Adrian Claiborne, defensive end, New England Patriots. 65, Mario Edwards Jr., defensive tackle, Oakland Raiders. 64, Corey Liuget, defensive tackle, Los Angeles Chargers. 63, R.B. Jones, defensive tackle, Jacksonville Jaguars. 62, Jonathan Allen, defensive end, Washington Redskins. 61, Mario Addison, defensive end, Carolina Panthers. 60, Robert Ndimike, defensive tackle, Arizona Cardinals. 59, Eddie Goldman, defensive tackle, Chicago Bears. 58, Earl Mitchell, defensive tackle, San Francisco 49ers. 57, Star Ludoeli, defensive tackle, Buffalo Bills. 56, Javon Hargrave, defensive tackle, Pittsburgh Steelers. 55, Emmanuel Ogbah, defensive end, Cleveland Browns. 54, Jerry Hughes, defensive end, Buffalo Bills. 53, Derek Wolfe, defensive end, Denver Broncos. 52, Alan Bailey, defensive end, Kansas City Chiefs. 51, Julius Peppers, defensive end, Carolina Panthers. 50, Solomon Thomas, defensive end, San Francisco 49ers. 49, DeForest Buckner, defensive tackle, San Francisco 49ers. 48, Malcolm Brown, defensive tackle, New England Patriots. 47, Chris Jones, defensive end, Kansas City Chiefs. 46, Brandon Williams, defensive tackle, Baltimore Ravens. 45, Tim Jernigan, defensive tackle, Philadelphia Eagles. 44, Sheldon Richardson, defensive tackle, Minnesota Vikings. 43, Jason Pierre-Paul, defensive end, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, formerly of the New York Giants. 42, Vinnie Curry, defensive end, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, formerly of the Philadelphia Eagles. 41, Muhammad Wilkerson, defensive end, Green Bay Packers. 40, Michael Jansen, defensive end, Cincinnati Bengals. 39, Daron Payne, defensive tackle, Washington Redskins. 38, Brandon Mabany, defensive tackle, Los Angeles Chargers. 37, Derek Barnett, defensive end, Philadelphia Eagles. 36, Leonard Williams, defensive end, New York Jets. 35, Robert Quinn, defensive end, Miami Dolphins. 34, Mike Daniels, defensive tackle, Green Bay Packers. 33, Sheldon Rankins, defensive tackle, New Orleans Saints. 32, Takaris McKinley, defensive end, Atlanta Falcons. 31, Brandon Graham, defensive end, Philadelphia Eagles. 30, DeMarcus Lawrence, defensive end, Dallas Cowboys. 29, Kyle Williams, defensive tackle, Buffalo Bills. 28, Dontari Poe, defensive tackle, Carolina Panthers. 27, Kawan Short, defensive tackle, Carolina Panthers. 26, Myles Garrett, defensive end, Cleveland Browns. 25, Carlos Dunlap, defensive end, Cincinnati Bengals. 24, Damon Harrison, defensive tackle, New York Giants. 23, Michael Bennett, defensive end, Philadelphia Eagles. 22, Yannick Ngui, defensive end, Jacksonville Jaguars. 21, Cam Hayward, defensive end, Pittsburgh Steelers. 20, Cam Wake, defensive end, Miami Dolphins. 19, Ezekiel Ansah, defensive end, Detroit Lions. 18, Daniel Hunter, defensive end, Minnesota Vikings. 17, Melvin Ingram, defensive end and outside linebacker, Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers have him listed as a defensive end. 16, Cameron Jordan, defensive end, New Orleans Saints. 15, Geno Atkins, defensive tackle, Cincinnati Bengals. 14, Malik Jackson, defensive tackle, Jacksonville Jaguars. 13, Everson Griffin, defensive end, Minnesota Vikings. 12, Calais Campbell, defensive end, Jacksonville Jaguars. 11, Linval Joseph, defensive tackle, Minnesota Vikings. 10, Vic Beasley, defensive end, outside linebacker, Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons have him listed as a defensive end. 9, Chandler Jones, defensive end, Arizona Cardinals. 8, Gerald McCoy, defensive tackle, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 7, Jarrell Casey, defensive end, Tennessee Titans. 6, Fletcher Cox, defensive tackle, Philadelphia Eagles. 5, Ndamukong Suh, defensive tackle, Los Angeles Rams. 4, Khalil Mack, defensive end and outside linebacker, Oakland Raiders. The Raiders have it listed as a defensive end, and Mack is currently holding out, but I'm still including him on the rankings for obvious reasons. 3, Joey Bosa, defensive end, Los Angeles Chargers. 2, J.J. Watt, defensive end, Houston Texans. And number 1, speaking of holding out, Aaron Donald, defensive tackle, Los Angeles Rams. Donald's the most dominant defensive player in the NFL right now. That contract extension has to get done, and I believe it will get done. I believe all the other contract extensions, such as Khalil Mack and Odell Beckham Jr., will eventually get done as well. If you notice with these rankings, with the defensive linemen and even the offensive linemen, I put them down in whatever position the team has them listed as. So when I do the linebackers tomorrow, there's going to be some that could also be defensive ends, but the certain team would have them listed as a linebacker. For example, Von Miller is both a defensive end and the linebacker, but the Broncos have him listed as a linebacker. And also with these rankings that I'm doing not only projections for this season, but what have you done for me lately? And there's some guys that are coming off injuries that are ranked in certain positions, such as Andrew Luck, because you never know, at the end of the season, Andrew Luck would be proved to be overrated or underrated based on where I ranked him in these rankings. So that's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping all the baseball. I'll be doing my linebacker rankings and going over any other news that happens in the world of sports. I'm going to do the NBA schedule analysis on Sunday's podcast, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago. I hope you guys have a great day.